इसको
Yes, sir, it started.
मिनिमाइज करता हूँ. यस. हाँ, ठीक है. अभी कैन यू सी मी एंड पीपीटी बोथ?
Yes, sir.
हाँ,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
So, as we have communicated on WhatsApp, our group, that instead of going for administration, we'll do Shakavalis today. That is the first unit, first topic. In the first topic, we have studied the sources of Maratha history, and in that we have done with Bakhar, Ajnapatre, and now we will be talking about Shakavalis. Now, what is this Shakavalis? If you remember, while discussing about Bakhar, I told you that Bakhar gives a lot of information about the wars and all, but it's not chronologically very correct because the Bakharkar, the person who used to write Bakhar, he rarely verified the information. He wrote whatever he has heard and whatever he has seen as he recollected later on. But Shakavali is another important source of Maratha history, and the importance is Shakavali is chronicle. The information is written in a chronicle form, like diary notes. You put a date and you put a information. For example, I have this Shakavali. This is called Jedhe Shakavali, and this is one of the important Shakavali. And in this Jede Shakavali, you will see the date, and then in front of the date there will be important information. For example, are you able to see this page? Yes, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you can see there is a date here, and then there is a information, and then there is a further date here, and then there is a information. This is of course an English translation, and originally this Shakavali was written in Modi. Modi, I have shown you the Modi script earlier. So this is a Modi script, and this is a modern day Marathi translation of this information. So this Shakavali is generally the people from nobility, Maratha noble family, Maratha Sardars, they usually maintain this Shakavali, that is a historical chronicle of their family. But people of this noble family, the Sardar, they participated in the historical event. For example, Shivaji's experiment of Swaraj, he unified the Marathas, the Maoris, and then he fought against Adil Shahi and Mughal later on. So these are the historically important events, and this family, through this family chronicle, we get an information not only about the family. For example, this Jedhe is a surname, the Maratha Sardar. So this Jedhe Shakavali gives information about Jedhe family, as well as it gives information about the important historical event in which they have taken part, as well as the important historical event that seems to be important. For example, I have not taken part in Indian freedom struggle. I was born in free India, but I had a very vivid recollection of the Indian freedom struggle because that is what I had been repeatedly exposed to. We had been celebrating, Mahatma Gandhi Jayanti and Jayantis and memorable days for the great people who fought in the Indian freedom struggle. So somehow it has become a part of our collective psyche, and many times we get a feeling that as if this has happened just yesterday. We can visualize because we had been exposed to narratives of the Indian freedom struggle very repeatedly, and somehow it has remained in our subconscious mind that this event has taken place just a few years back. Do you agree with me? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Or it doesn't happen with you, it happens with me only because I think more.
No, sir. No, no. It happens with us.
It happens with you. Okay, fine, fine. So about these Shakavalis, we will be discussing what is Shakavalis. There are different types of Shakavalis. Different family like Jedhe family have kept their chronicle record. Similarly, we come across, we have found out. I mean, we means historian have found out different Shakavalis. And in that, there will be little bit of discussion about this Jede Shakavali, where it is found and when it was found, what is the content and how important it is as a source of history. So you go to next. So Shakavalis, I given you introduction. It is a family chronicle which gives date-wise information about the great deeds done by the member of the particular family. And as the entries are made, the Shakavali, you can translate it as a chronicle. But the entries are made in the Shak era. Have you heard about the Shak era? Do you know Shak era? Yes. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. It was a dynasty. Uh,
Yeah.
it
Shak.
was the third foreign dynasty to invade after the fall of Mauryan Empire.
Yeah. Okay. So so the Shaka king Kanishka, he started this era. He started the counting of the year, and that he has started in 78 AD. 78, and that is the reason. Which era is generally we use now? Tell me.
Gregorian.
Yeah. Gregorian is a calendar that we use, and era is Christian era.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So that is counted from the birth of Jesus. So like today it is 2020. 2020 years back Jesus was born, and from that day it is believed that the counting of the years have started. And the event, that is the reason, the events that took place before the birth of Christ, we call it BC. That is before Christ. Well, so this Shaka calendar was generally followed in pre-Islamic India, and the Hindu kingdoms like Shivaji's kingdom or the Vijayanagara kingdom, they also continued with the Shaka era, and generally the Sultan and Mughal and the Bahmanis, who were Muslim by religion, the rulers, they generally their historical record generally we find in the Hijra era, that is from the birth of Prophet Muhammad. And this is all over generally. If you remember, we have discussed this when we were studying about the Arab historiography as well as the Sultanate and Mughal historiography. But in the kingdom of if the Hindu king is a ruler, generally he followed Shaka and the Marathas they also followed Shaka. So this entries that is made here that corresponds to the Shaka calendar, and that is the reason also it is called Shakavali. Chronology and Shakavali, though they same, but in Shakavali the entries are made according to the Shak era. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Well,
Yes, sir.
so you understood the meaning of Shakavali, how the name came. It is a chronological record of the important events of a particular family, in which the family member have participated, or they have seen, or they thought that this historical event is important. For example, Jede Shakavali starts, surprisingly, the first entry in the Jede Shakavali is birth of Aurangzeb. Now, Jedhe probably had nothing to do with birth of Aurangzeb, but then he felt that the birth of Aurangzeb is very important, because Aurangzeb, later on we have studied this, Aurangzeb had a very long association with the Marathas. He stayed in Maharashtra for around 25 years. He continued to fight against them, and that is how Aurangzeb as a person was very important in Maratha history. And that is the reason probably the person who has written this chronology, who has written this Shakavali, thought that probably birth of Aurangzeb is an important event, important historical event. Is it clear to you? Well, so this is a bit of background. I told you about Shakavalis, why they are called Shakavalis, and if we have to convert it to the Shaka, the entries of the dates made according to the Shaka Samvat, according to the Shaka era. If you have to convert it into the Christian era, you have to add 78 year to that Shaka Samvat. Sorry, here I have written substack. We need to add. Yeah, to corresponds to Christian era, we need to add. I'll correct this in the PDF as well. Okay. Well, so what is the importance of Shakavali? Through the deeds of family member. For example, if I just write the history of my family, when my grandfather was born, and when my father was born, and when I was born, what are the schools I had gone through. Will there be anybody who will be interested in reading that? Yes?
Most probably no, sir.
Yeah, probably no, except it's like pampering your
Ah,
own self. My son might be interested, because if he feels there is some importance to family lineage, but then otherwise it will be a boring. But if I write that before 1991, I was born in 1973, and before 1991, there was hardly we have choice when we want to buy two-wheeler. We used to get only Rajdoot and SD, and then in case of car, we already had Ambassador. But then after 1991, there was an era of liberalization, and then now I have choices to choose, which my the elder people did not really had any choice. Now tell me, this is my personal feeling, this is my personal experience, but then is it important historically? Yes.
No, sir.
Well, I think it is important. It is important because after 1991, Manmohan Singh have started an era of liberalization, and that era of liberalization was a historical event which has brought a lot of changes in the Indian economy. And though the changes in the Indian economy is a phenomena which has affected larger generation, which had affected larger population, it has affected me also. So, though I am narrating my effect, you can connect it to the historical event with the period of liberalization which had brought certain changes into the economy. Going back into the historical time, Jedhe participation in the Afzal Khan war against, against Bijapur, Shivaji Afzal Khan, the war between Shivaji and Afzal Khan. The participation of Jedhe, though he might be, somebody in the Jedhe family making a record of the deeds that his father has done. Now, is it important? Yes. Is it important historically? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is important because Shivaji's experiment with Swarajya, founding of an independent kingdom in opposition to Bijapur and Mughal, is an important historical event. And Jedhe, he had participated into that historical event. Though I have not participated in the economic liberalization, I was witness to it, and I have participated also in a way, because now I can purchase. My purchasing power has increased. I have more opportunities, so on and so forth. Earlier, there used to be, monopoly of the aeroplane. There used to be only Air India and Indian Airlines, and buying an aeroplane ticket, it was a luxury. But nowadays, many people are able to travel because of the liberalization, and there are lot many private player who make the aeroplane journey available at an affordable rate. So if somebody writes that, my father was not able to travel by air, but now I can travel, so that is his personal experience. But through that personal experience, he is also narrating and witnessing and accounting an important economic historical event. That period of liberalization had changed the scenario in India. So in that, you will find an information of economic history. You will find an information about the aviation history as well. Are you getting my point now? Yes.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
in
sir.
that way, this is important. You might be writing an history of the family, but history of the family does not mean that what kind of food the particular person has eaten on has taken on particular day. That is not important. But what he has participated in the national event, that is more important. For example, now I have a number of car to choose from, not only Ambassador and Fiat, as I have seen during my childhood. So that is how the Shakavalis are important. All right. Well, now among the different Shakavalis that are being found and are being published, there are Jedhe Shakavali, Shakavali of Shivapurkar Deshpande, then Gadadhar Prahlad Shakavali, Saha Kalmi Shakavali. So these are the different Shakavalis that had been found so far, and they are now available to the researcher in a book called Chhatrapati Shivaji Pradeep. That is a book which was published, and they have published these Shakavalis. So we'll talk about Jede Shakavali now. Jede Shakavali, in the published form, I have shown you the Modi script. It is written in the Modi script, and it is a very small text, only 23 pages, and in that also 23rd page is incomplete. It seems that only 22 pages the author has written, and then 23rd page was written half, and probably after that he has stopped. The original was never found, but Bal Gangadhar Tilak, who was a nationalist leader, he found copy with somebody in 1900 and then he kept it with him. Then he copied it by his hand, and then in 1916 he published it. Original was never found, and this Jede Shakavali, it gives information about the historical events in Maharashtra in the 17th century and participation of Jede family in those events. This I have already told you. It starts with birth of Aurangzeb in 1618, and if you remember, there was an important episode in the Maratha War of Independence under Rajaram, when Rajaram was siege in the fort of Jinji. He was staying in the fort of Jinji, and that fort was surrounded by the Mughal. That happened in 1697. So it starts in 1618 and ends with 1697. So the 17th century, lot of information in relation to the Maratha history is being recorded in this Jede Shakavali. Now, who were these Jedhe? Jedhes, they were Deshmukh of the village called Kari, that is in Bori Tehsil now, and it is in Pune district. Now, who were these Deshmukh? Do you remember? Have you any time come across the word called Deshmukh? Yes?
Yes, sir. It is a very famous surname in Maharashtra.
Yeah. Well, now this Deshmukh, he was it later on gradually it has become surname, but this Deshmukh used to be the hereditary Watandar of a particular area. Now, Watandar means what? They were given that area as Jagir by the king, as Jagir by the ruler, and it was a feudal system. In return of that Jagir, he has to take the responsibility of collecting the taxes. The part of tax he will keep with him as his fees. Also, he will maintain certain army, and some amount of that tax he will deposit in the central treasury, as well as he will help the king during the time of the war with the army maintained by him. Now, during those days, communication was pretty difficult, and generally in Maharashtra, we find that the Bahamani ruler, later on Bahamani got split into Nizam Shahi and Adil Shahi and Berat Shahi, so on and so forth, six kingdom. But the significant portion of the Maharashtra was divided between these two kingdoms, that is Nizam Shahi and Adil Shahi. And after the Nizam Shah's defeat by the combined forces of Mughal and Adil Shah, the significant portion of Maharashtra had gone in the hands of this Adil Shahi territory. And this Adil Shah and Nizam Shah before him, as well as the Mughal later on, generally they prefer to rule through this Deshmukh. When this institution of Deshmukhi has come into existence, we are not sure. It have a very long historical tradition of evolution. Gradually, it has evolved, and this Deshmukh, after paying part of tax to the central government, used to be a kind of king in their own area. And many times they are also referred as Raje, which means king, and they generally had staff. They generally had staff to assist them, and their staff were also model on the Mantri Mandal, the council of minister of the king. Like they had Peshwas to assist them. They had Sabnis to who will keep the account. They had Karkun, the writer and accountant as well. So they were kind of virtual ruler in their area. The central authority generally held them responsible for the collection of the revenue, and after getting the revenue, generally the central authority left these villages undisturbed. So Deshmukh, with the help of Patil, Kulkarni, they used to rule over the village. Sometimes they had more than one village under their control. And this position of Deshmukh, it remained unchanged, though central authority, it went on changing from Bahamani to Nizam Shahi and then to Adil Shahi. Now, this Deshmukh, as they were hereditary holding on to the territory, hereditary had a right to collect the taxes, they developed a lot of attachment for their own Watan, which they used to call Watan. Watan is in fact motherland, but they used to call that small principality, small village, or might be a group of couple of village as their Watan. And many times what used to happen is there used to be frequent quarrel for Watandar, because the administrative structure was not as evolved as we have today. Many times the Watandar will go and claim that during the 100 years back, this village belonged to my ancestors and you have appropriated it wrongly, so I want this village back, and this led to the conflict, frequent murder. Shivaji had to deal with this. We'll be talking about Shivaji's administration later on, and there used to be always blood fraud. Like there are number of evidences, even in Jedhe family also there were murders. Sometimes what used to happen is, suppose Watandar have two three sons, and then his number of children, all that big family used to grow, and with the death of the Watandar, his sons also used to fight among themselves for to become a Watandar, and they will go and talk to the king, and the other person will go and talk to the king, say ki, you make me Watandar, I will support you. And the one brother will go to another king and say ki, you support me and I will become your Watandar, and I will support you in the during the time of the war. So all that, lot of politics, lot of conflict, lot of murder, and lot of war were involved during this Watandar. And the kind of attachment this Watandar had with their Watan was phenomenal. For example, one example the historian often give, that is about Mahadaji Scindia. About Mahadaji Scindia we'll be studying in the next semester. Mahadaji Scindia, he was from a small village near Pune, Sri Gonda. Sri Gonde was a village near Pune, and from that village he became with Madhaji Scindia's father, Ranoji Sinde, with Bajirao Peshwa. They went to the Scindia family, brothers and all. They went to north with the army. They fought along with Bajirao Peshwa. They conquered certain area in Malwa, and later on they became stable first at Ujjain and then later on shifted to Gwalior. So this Scindia family, their one of their head of the Scindia family later on, after the Battle of Panipat, Mahadaji Scindia. Among the Scindia family, large number of many of them died in the Battle of Panipat in 1761. Mahadaji Scindia survived. Now he became the head of the Scindia family, and he was a very astute, very capable general. So he, kind of regained the prestige of the Marathas in the north, which have received a very deadly blow in the Battle of Panipat, 1761. And through his valor, through his generalship, he became a kind of protector of the Mughal Empire. Mughal Empire was considerably weakened by that time, and the Mughal Empire appointed him as a Wakil-e Mutalik. Wakil in the administrative structure of the Mughal was a very important post. He was almost next to the emperor. And this Wakil Mutalik was an important post. Madhaji Scindia becomes a Wakil of the Mughal Empire, but still he felt very proud of calling him as a Patil of that village from where he came. Patil Baba was the very fond kind of address that he liked to be called, because that had a kind of psychological connection. That is how this Deshmukh and Patil and the Watandar, they used to have that kind of sentimental feeling. So this, depending on this, I'm giving you a little bit of idea about this Patil and Watandar, because we get a lot of information about this Patil and their conflict in this Shakavalis. And depending on the circumstances, these Deshmukh families, or the Deshmukhs, the Watandar and the tax collector, the hereditary tax collector, they used to shift their loyalty from one ruler to another. For example, many of them were serving under Bijapur, Adil Shah of Bijapur. But as Shivaji started his experiment, Jedhe joins Shivaji. But some of them, they continue to serve under Bijapur. During the conflict between Bijapur and Nizam Shah, Ahmednagar. Also, there used to be shifting of the loyalty. Same thing happened when the Mughal invaded. As they, and this is especially on the border. If you can, if you can, make an alliance with the Deshmukh on the border villages, probably you can encroach on the territory, because that Deshmukh, along with his army, will support you. Are you understanding? Have you understood this situation? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Got
sir.
it.
Yeah, okay. So,
Yes,
now
sir.
the research done by Rajwade and all, they found out that this Jede family, which the Shakavali of Jede that we will be discussing now, this Jedes, they got the Watan of Deshmukhi from the buried Shah of Bidar, in the 16th century, when the Bahamani Sultanate got splitted. Bidar was one of the kingdom, and the Sultan there was called Barit Shah. So they served this Barit Shah, and this Barit Shah of Bidar, they granted him Deshmukhi of the region. And in that Mawal region, from where Shivaji has started his experiment of Swaraj near Pune, there were 12 Deshmukh. 12, it is called 12 Mawal. In Marathi, it is called Bara Mawal. 12 Mawal. So this 12 Mawal was nothing but one Mawal will be having a cluster of villages. So these 12 Mawal were having 12 Deshmukh. And among the important Deshmukh of that region were Jedhe, of course, then Khopde, Badal, Nayak, Nimbalkar, Pasalkar. Shivaji tried to unify them, even though they had a conflict, enmity. Border conflict used to be always there. Somebody will claim that village belongs to me, and another Deshmukh will fight with him. So this Deshmukh, they served different kingdom, and many of them joined Shivaji's experiment. This I have already told you. Jede family, this Jede brother, Khiroji and Baji Nayak, they served Sultan of Bidar and they were awarded Deshmukhi. Khopde, sorry, this should be Khopde, not Khode. Khopde was another Watandar of that Mawa region, and he had enmity with Jedhe. And in the conflict, number of people from both the side were killed. When these Jede brothers, when they went to their village to take the charge of their watan, they were killed by Khopde. And now the Jede brother, they talked to other Deshmukh and said ki this is some of them, some of the brothers survived, and they talked to the other Deshmukh of the Mawa region, and the injustice or the cruelty that is shown by Khopde was narrated. And then these Deshmukhs, they joined hands together, and when the Khopdes they were celebrating marriage ceremony, they were suddenly attacked by this other Deshmukh, including Jedhe, and near about 65 people of that Khopde family were killed. And after that, Jedhe become Watandar of that region. But then among them also they had certain conflict. But finally, during the Shivaji's time, it was Kanoji Jedhe who was the head of Jedhe family. And this Kanoji Jedhe, he served under Shahaji. Under Shahaji, he also served under Bijapur. Now, when after Nizam Shahi was finally abolished by Mughal and Adil Shah together. Shahaji entered the service of Adil Shah, but Mughal, they did not want Shahaji to stay in Maharashtra. They understood that this person is ambitious and he is liked by his people. He may turn out to be a kind of troublemaker. So Mughal governor writes a letter to Adil Shah that send Shivaji away from Maharashtra, and Shivaji was sent to Karnataka to make conquest on the behalf of Adil Shah. Now, as Shivaji was, though he had Jagir near Pune, that Jagir has to be managed through his agent. Now, as Shahaji was going to Karnataka to take charge of the new assignments that is assigned to him from Adil Shah, he sent certain people. One of them was very important, that is Dadoji Kondev. If you remember, he was sent as a Karbhari of Shivaji, and it is considered as he was like a teacher to Shivaji. Shivaji was very young. He keeps Shivaji and Jizabai, Shivaji's mother, at his Jagir in Pune, and among the different people that he entrusted with the responsibility of looking after Shivaji, one was Kanoji Jedhe. Kanoji Jedhe was an important person of that region. He was a Deshmukh and had a considerable respect. And Shahaji tells him that you should always remain loyal to Shivaji and that he kept his word. It is said that in front of Shahaji, he has taken an oath. During those days, oath used to be an important assignment, important binding factor. Once people have taken oath, in Marathi, it is called oath on Bel Bhandara. Bel is a kind of leaves, Bel that people worship Mahadev, the god Mahadev that is worshipped by Hindus, Shankara. and that bell which is kept on the Shivalinga. Shivalinga is worshipped on the Shivalinga, and the Bhandara. Bhandara is also a kind of haldi पता है ना आपको, turmeric. So it's a kind of that bhandara and that bell which is you use during the worship. So if somebody picks up that bell bhandara which is kept on Shivlinga and takes a oath, it is being generally traditionally Marathas had a tradition that that person will die but will not break the oath. But there are exceptions. It's not necessary that people will follow it. There are certain evidences when people have taken an oath but not followed it and just use it as a kind of Machiavellian diplomatic tool to negotiate. Well, nevertheless, Kanoji, however, he has fulfilled it. He has taken an oath to Shahaji that he will always remain loyal to Shivaji, and he, along with his sons, remain loyal to Shivaji. So, they supported him during the conquest of Zawadi when Zawadi was conquered by Shivaji. Similarly, during the expedition of Afzal Khan, we have studied this Afzal Khan war long back. Mm, when Afzal Khan started from Bijapur against Shivaji, there was a royal farman from Bijapur to the Deshmukhs of this Mawar that you should cooperate with Afzal Khan. Otherwise, your watan will be confiscated and you will be punished. So, adhering or respecting that farman, number of Deshmukh in that Mawal region, they join hands with Afzal Khan. And Jedhe, they remain as they were loyal to Shivaji. Jedhe Kanoji Jedhe goes and meets Shivaji and says, Ki, this is what Farman I have got to join hands with Afzal Khan against you. What is to be done? And Shivaji tells him that, in order to save your watan, it is better you join with Afzal Khan. Otherwise, your watan will be confiscated. And Jedhe says, Ki, I am just giving up my watan. In Marathi, there is a saying called pani sodne. Pani sodne means what? I have just given up. So, here also there is earlier as there was hardly any system of writing down. Oath taken by the name of the god is considered as very important. Just a minute. हा आई मी क्लासमध्ये आहे मी थोड्या वेळाने करतो तुला Now, this oath taken by Jedhe in front of Shivaji that I am giving up my watan. I don't really care for my watan, but I will remain loyal to you. Now, if you remember the kind of attachment that the Deshmukhs had with their watan, that was the reason that I have narrated you all this attachment and the blood fall and killing of the killing of each other for this watan. But Jedhe were so inspired by this ideal of Shivaji, or so inspired by, or so devoted to Shivaji's cause, maybe because of the word that he gave to his father, that he was willing to give up his watan, but he remained loyal to Shivaji. All right. So during this he not only himself but he turned many Deshmukh in that Mawal region in favor of Shivaji, and during this meeting with Afzal Khan, Sarjarao Jedhe, one of the son of Kanoji, he was with Shivaji. Shivaji has taken very few selected bodyguards to meet Afzal Khan, and after the killing of Afzal Khan, the Marathas who were hiding in the forest and they came out and suddenly attacked Afzal Khan army. Among them was also Kanoji Jedhe was also there. And in this Jedhe chronicle, he doesn't try to hide the fact that it was Shivaji who killed Afzal Khan. Many of the Maratha historians they tried to cover up Shivaji's deed by taking a stand that it was Afzal Khan who made the first move, who was first attacked, and it is in defense that Shivaji has killed him. Preemptive murder. But Jedhe writes clearly that Shivaji called Afzal Khan to meet and then attacked him from side and killed him. And later on, his army was attacked. Well, nevertheless, he seems to be writing what he has seen. Well, okay. Now, this is a background of Jedhe family. I told you.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, why do historians try to cover up that fact?
Yeah, because they wanted to project Chhatrapati Shivaji as a noble person who do not deceive the people that he has called for the meeting. Maybe with that intention, they try to project it like that. All right.
Acha. All right, sir.
Ah, okay. So I told you about Jede family, their little bit of background, the tradition, the background behind their loyalty, that is the oath that he has, Kanaji Jede has taken in front of Shahaji, and so on and so forth. Now, we'll talk about content of Jede Shakavali. You know, this Jede Shakavali chronically, the entries are made, and this is published by A.R. Kulkarni. And interestingly, it does it have introduction, it have this Modi and present day Marathi, and it have a complete English translation. So this could be a very helpful book if anybody wants to do research related to these topics. Well, so now the first entry, as I have already told you, it starts with birth of Aurangzeb, which happened in according to Shaka era in 1540, Kartik Vaidya, and that corresponds to the date in English calendar is Gregorian calendar in the Christian era, that is 24th October 1618. Now, different important events related to Maratha history is given in this Shakavali. For example, the work of Malik Ambar is given in short. You know, Malik Ambar was Nizam Shahi noble. He was Habsi, Abyssinian, and he became Wazir of Nizam Shah, and he was a person who had made a lot of improvement in the guerrilla warfare. He employed large number of Marathas, including Shahaji, in his army, and he defeated the combined army of Mughal and Adil Shah. So that event is noted here. Then, as I have already told you, the person who witnesses certain important historical event, those are also noted here. Prince Khurram, who later on became Emperor Shah Jahan, he revolted against his father. That entry is also here. Then later on, Khurram becomes Emperor as Shah Jahan. Then birth of Shivaji. Then Shahaji asking on oath to Jedhe to remain loyal to Shivaji. That is mentioned here. Then Shivaji's conquest of Zawadi and Jedhe participation into it. Then Shivaji, he arrests his own maternal uncle, that is Sambhaji Mohite, that is mentioned. Then Sambhaji's birth, son of Shivaji, that is mentioned in 1657. And then later on, during that Afzal Khan war, a lot of details are given. For example, what I have already told you, receiving of Farman by the Deshmukh from Adil Shah. But Khopde, they had enmity with Jedhe. Khopde joins hands with Afzal Khan, but Jedhe remains loyal with Shivaji. Kanoji and his five sons, they remain loyal to Shivaji. There is a dialogue which I have already told you when Shivaji was testing Kanoji. That was a kind of test because Vatan, as I am telling you repeatedly, Vatan was a person which people guarded beyond their life. People, they gave up their life for the protection of the Vatan. But Jedhe was willing to give up their Vatan for Shivaji. So that was a kind of test, or Shivaji has tested Jedhe like that. So this I already told you, Shivaji advising to obey Farman. Jaydev gave up his watan. Even then he gives information about the exchange of envy between Shivaji and Afzal Khan. Then Shivaji prepares to trap Afzal Khan and Bijapur army. In the meeting, as I have already told you, he writes very bluntly that it was Shivaji who attacked and killed Afzal Khan. Then they participated in the Afzal Khan war. Their participation was very important, and Shivaji honors Jede family, and Jede will have the first honor of the sword. That is the honor given to the soldier. That is what Shivaji declares. Then Shivaji's further conquest of Pannala, war with Adil Shah. All this history we have studied, so I'm just going a little bit fast. Sacrifice of Baji Prabhu. Do you remember Baji Prabhu Deshpande? Yes? Or you are not studying at all at home? Who was Baji Prabhu Deshpande? Anybody? And where did he die? No? Nobody is able to recollect?
No, sir. Yes,
well, okay, fine. Baji Prabhu Deshpande died when Shivaji escapes from Pannalgarh and goes to Vishalgarh. And when he was chased by Bijapur army led by Siddhi Zohar, it was Baji Prabhu Deshpande who stops them in a small opening Khind. It was called Ghod Khind. It was Khind is a narrow area through which people used to pass between two mountains, and this was called Ghod Khind because only one horse could go through that narrow passage between the two mountains. And there, Baji Prabhu Deshpande, he fights with his very selected people against a huge army, stops them from chasing Shivaji, and Shivaji reaches safely. And in order that Shivaji should reach safely to Vishalgarh, Baji Prabhu sacrificed his life. And that Ghod Khind, narrow passage, is later on named as Pawan Khind by Shivaji. That is pure. It has become pure because of the blood shed by Baji Prabhu Deshpande. We have Baji Prabhu Deshpande statue near Ramnagar Square. Well, okay. So that was sacrifice by Baji Prabhu is written here. Then Shaiste Khan, he comes and occupies Pune, and then Shivaji's night attack on Shaista Khan when his fingers were cut. And Shahaji, Shivaji's father, dies in 1664. Then Surat was looted by Shivaji. Then invasion of Jai Singh, and then Treaty of Purandar. Sambhaji gets Mansabdari. Then in 1667, land assessment done by Shivaji. And then before that, Shivaji goes to Agra, his escape. Then in 1669, Aurangzeb, he destroys temples at Banaras, and he, according to Jethe, that became one of the important reasons that Shivaji started his war against Aurangzeb once again. There was a peace from 1665 to 1669. Then war was renewed. Kondhana and number of forts which were handed over by Shivaji to Mughal during the Treaty of Purandar 1665, they were recaptured by the Marathas one after another. And then there was Shivaji's coronation 1674. Then Shivaji goes to his expedition to south. He captures the fort of Jinji and captures significant area of Karnataka. Then there was a meeting between Shivaji and his half brother Ekoji. And then Sambhaji's revolt. Sambhaji joins Mughal in 1678. Then he writes, there was an earthquake in Maharashtra on 28 January 1678. Then Aurangzeb's war with Rajput. Now this Aurangzeb's war with Rajput is an important historical event which he mentions. In fact, he doesn't have any direct connection. But then it is one way connected because, Akbar, he's unhappy with Aurangzeb's son. He's unhappy with Aurangzeb's Rajput policy, and then he comes to Maharashtra later on. Well, then but before that, Shivaji dies, and then there is a conspiracy against Sambhaji. But Sambhaji comes out successful. Then Akbar's rebellion, then Aurangzeb's coming to Deccan. Sambhaji was very angry with the conspiracy that happened against him once again, and he kills some of the old nobles. Then Sambhaji's war with Portuguese, Sambhaji, this we have already studied. And then Kavi Kalash, the North Indian poet, he became a very favorite of Sambhaji and became very important in the administration, which was not liked by the Maratha nobility. Then Aurangzeb, he finishes this Bijapur and Golconda kingdom that is mentioned here. Then Shirke, they revolt against Sambhaji and then punished by Sambhaji. Many of them were killed. And then later on, Sambhaji and Kavi Kalas, they were captured and killed by Sambhaji. Rajaram was released from the imprisonment of Sambhaji and he was made Chhatrapati. Then Raigad is attacked by Mughal. Rajaram, he escapes from Raigad, then later on goes to Jinji. Shivaji too, that is Sambhaji's son, he was captured with Esubai, with his mother, and then taken to the camp of Aurangzeb. And Aurangzeb gives him name as Shahu. Then he writes about the Maratha War of Independence under Rajaram. Then Santaji's war. Do you remember Santaji? Yes? Very effective Maratha general, but he was equally haughty and arrogant and short-tempered. And that led to conflict between Chhatrapati Rajaram and Santaji. And there were attempts of the Maratha noble to pacify him. And that unfortunately did not happen. And later on, Santaji was killed by Nage Manoji Nage. And then Mughal, they besieged Zinji, the fort was besieged in 1697. And that is where this Shakavali ends. Now, let us sum up what is the historically important. The Bakhar gives a lot of information, but dates are mostly missing, and that shortcoming can be covered up by referring to the Shakavalis. though dates are not correct. There are certain mistakes in the date as well. But Shakavalis does gives an indication that there was a tradition of noting down the important historical event in the noble families, important families. And through that recording, the important historical event got recorded. Shakavalis, they were also used in pre-British period as an evidence in the court. The region, the area, land belongs to whom. So for that purpose, the Shakavalis were being taken out and presented in the court as a proof that this watan belongs to my family or somebody's family. And apart from that, there are Shakavalis like Gadadhar Prahlad, Shivapurkar Deshpande. Interestingly, what information I got so far, as these Shakavalis are published, they have a very similar information. So many times it is believed that those Shakavali, the name have changed, certain entries have changed. Probably they were the copies of the main Shakavali. That is, which is the main. That is again a contested issue. But this is how the Shakavalis are. So in a nutshell, Shakavali is a chronological record of the important family, and by understanding reading that important record of the important family, we do get information about the important historical event. And the shortcoming that we find in the Bakar about the absence of date, that can be partially, not fully, made by referring to the Shakavalis. So Shakavali, which we have left, is complete now. So is there any doubt you have? Tell me. Yes.
No doubt, sir.
Oh, well. Today's date is 23rd, 24th,
Sir, 24th.
24. Alia, Vishwajit, Asiya is there. Asiya is there. Shalini is there. Jasmeet is not there. Then Shweta is not there. Meenal is not there. Swati is not there. Praful is not there. Pooja is there, I think. Yes. Sneha is not there. So we are stopping here for today, and next class we will start with the administration. Please go through the PDF that I have put on in our Google Classroom. Well, okay, fine then. Have a nice day.
Good day, sir. Thank
Bye.
you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.